We're all clear, but there'll be more. Echo 7, how's the transmission?
I just bypassed security. Transferring to R10 now.
Echo 2, we've got company. Let's make this quick.
Copy, Echo 9. R10, get ready for transmission. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. We're going to be talking about Tales of the Jedi Part 2. We're going to go on Qui-Gon and Dooku's story. So, yeah, let's get into it.
So, yeah, I mean, I know that at the time that Tales of the Jedi came out, Sir Christopher Lee had passed away. But even still, like, hearing his voice compared to the actor's voice in this and throughout the whole of the Clone Wars seasons, it never felt right to me.
Well, understandable. I mean, when I was watching this arc, episode 2 and episode 3, all I kept wishing for was like, when is Liam Neeson coming back? And then when I saw the third episode, I was like, finally, thank you, because I cannot take Qui-Gon Jinn seriously if it is not voiced by Liam Neeson.
Which it wasn't. It was voiced by his son, Michael.
Not even on the last episode? No.
It was voiced by his son, Michael Neeson.
No.
Or am I wrong? Because I know he did the younger one.
Michael Richardson did the younger. I think it was Liam Neeson. Hold on.
Because I can't.
Here, I'm looking at the last.
The Jedi.
I have it pulled up right now. No, okay, it was Liam Neeson. No, you are right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Neeson did his son did the young version.
And that's understandable.
Yeah.
That's fine. But not the Qui-Gon that I know and love.
Liam Neeson is always down to come back. Which I love about Liam Neeson. Like he actually loves Star Wars, that he's always wanted to come back. And it was really cool to be able to see a younger Qui-Gon with a younger Dooku.
It was.
Yeah. Holding a blue lightsaber, which felt so wrong for Count Dooku to have.
I want to say I like the blue lightsaber for Dooku because obviously it's pre him turning to the dark side.
Yeah.
It's more his face, like his face and hair.
Yeah.
Like in fact, you know, the whole thing about animated Dooku. Ow! As I kick my sofa.
Not supposed to do that.
No. The whole thing about the animated Dooku just feels off, especially in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that in the Clone Wars and the last episode that Dooku's in of Tales of Jedi, it looks slightly better, but the whole like pointy hair and it doesn't work. Sorry, I'm out on it. I'm out.
I have to be honest. For me, I understood that it was Count Dooku immediately because of the accent and everything. But for me to realize that it is actually Qui-Gon also took a while. I was thinking, like, did he even have another Padawan like around that age? What is happening? It took me a while.
I like the parallel though, as they were going down to the planet of the opening of Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally didn't have any issue with the animation. I guess that didn't throw me out. I was, I guess, a little bit more focused on the story, and I didn't really pay attention to the animation. And the 3 different story arcs that we got, which mainly was about Count Dooku and not so much Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon was just his apprentice, so he did play a prominent role in it.
Mhm.
But I loved that they went down there. Dooku is not about the rules. He's just like, no, I'm actually trying to do good here, even if it's bad. And he goes to his people and he's like, okay, your senator is treating you terribly. Like, what's going on here? Why'd you kidnap his son? Which also voiced by a notable voice actor, Josh Keaton. I think my brother knows him, but it's really cool to see Dooku just like, yeah, I'm not here on behalf of the Republic or the Jedi. I'm here because we are the protectors of the peace. And you kidnap this senator's son, and you need to release him and send him back to his father. And then to get such a short episode with so much detail about Count Dooku's personality and Qui-Gon's personality was phenomenal. Because when the senator shows up with an army, it gets real.
It does. I really enjoyed that they did not give us some just like filler, unimportant stories, but they actually gave us things that we could relate to and
Mhm.
how corrupt certain senators were and how that made the Republic very corrupt and everything. So for me, Dooku being a separatist has so much more solid background after watching these episodes. One thing, again, we're gonna go back to the hair, is because Qui-Gon, was he a Padawan? If he
Yes.
was a Padawan, where was his braid? That's the thing I wrote.
Pe-
Because,
People,
I mean, even
you're not the only one that
if,
had that issue though.
okay,
Other people,
because
have
even
talked about
if
it.
they become a Jedi Knight, they keep calling their master's master, which
Hmm.
is something that I can see. That's why I did not just jump into it like continuation error, but
Yeah.
I was like, I immediately thought like, okay, where's the braid if he's still a Padawan?
Hmm.
I'm feeling attacked. But also, you are completely correct.
Well, as per usual.
You want to know who else felt attacked? The senator.
Hey, in my mind, he had it coming.
Yeah,
Like,
He
for
did,
sure.
maybe see this is where, like, evil Sam comes out again. Where I genuinely think that Dooku, while he might have been a bit rough with it, but I think his intentions were honest.
yes,
Like,
scum like you need to be
100%.
eradicated.
yeah,
Scum like you need to
This
be eradicated
has this is
because
not evil Sam.
you
This is
have these
like just
villagers that think that all the Jedi do is protect the rich and politicians and all that, and Dooku's like, no, I'm about to kill a senator for you guys, so this is where I stand.
I
It's
mean,
like,
when you see Dooku look around at the injured villagers, like that's when you can start seeing his mind turn from, all right, I was sent here for this mission, but look at the
he wasn't
people.
though. He went on his own accord.
That is true. Yeah, I completely like forget that detail that he just went.
exactly. And this is
Dooku
again
does what he
something that
wants.
we discussed during Ahsoka, for example. There is a very clear line of Jedi who went on their own. It
Hmm.
is Dooku, it is Qui-Gon, it is Obi-Wan, it is Anakin, it is Ahsoka. It is a
That whole line.
whole line of masters and Padawan who went on their own way. It's
And it all started
like
with
he says,
Yoda. He was the first master, but he was the only person that didn't break rules.
yep, for sure. And he says, we serve the people of this republic. And there is nothing better than this line in this episode. I was like, he sees what is happening. The and then we see very clearly the difference between Qui-Gon and Dooku, because Dooku immediately starts falling towards the dark side and uses his power for extreme things, while Qui-Gon still looks for a peaceful measure, still sticking with the emotions of the light side, while Dooku loses his control very quickly and very violently.
And that's why I kind of agree with Sam. Like the senator had it coming, and I don't really look as the force, any force ability as light or dark. It's always about, it's like the whole thing. It's like it's the tool has no purpose other than who's using it. And I think the key thing there is Dooku was trying to prove a point, but he lost control and went from "I'm going to choke you to show authority and power" to "I'm just going to kill you because we need to eradicate scum like you." And because we even look back at Qui-Gon, because when Qui-Gon was talking to the villagers, also Vanessa Marshall voiced the village elder, if you know who she is, Hera from Rebels. He said, "Okay, if you guys are so unhappy, why not take him out of office and put someone else in now?" Like Qui-Gon was still looking for a way, because even when the senator was getting choked, Qui-Gon immediately ran to the sun and released the sun, and it's like, "Go save your father." And even Qui-Gon pleaded to Count Dooku. But it's funny because we do get to see mannerisms of Dooku in Qui-Gon, just not the loss of control.
I think that's the key word there is the control. You know, we've got characters.
Because Luke uses Force choke too, just saying. We saw it in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, but it's that fine line of turning to the dark side or starting to turn to the dark side, like Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. He kind of just he turned because of what he wanted. Dooku, at the moment, from even though we know
Good
how
intentions.
how his character turns out, we know in this it's good intentions. It's just that fine line of where do you stop? Like,
Because he's looking at the
And-
Jedi Order at this point and the Republic and going, "You guys are not doing anything that's good." And that's why he left the Jedi Order, is because he saw how terrible they were. And same with Anakin.
Also-
Anakin's like, "I see through the lies of the Jedi." Count Dooku's like, "Yeah, me too."
There is a saying, the end does not justify the means. So
In this case,
there
yes.
there was a lot of I mean, that's the thing. Qui-Gon immediately found the actual proper way to deal with things, while Dooku lost
And-
control immediately.
And Jedi Master Dooku did congratulate Qui-Gon for that. He's like, your action saved a lot of people today."
I have to say this, out of this arc, the thing that I love the most is the relationship between Qui-Gon and Dooku. I loved it so much. I appreciated it immensely because I knew how much Obi-Wan loved Qui-Gon, but that was
Not
it.
in the beginning.
But
They hated each other. Through the book Master and Apprentice, they were more like Anakin and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because Obi-Wan was... The relationship between Mace Windu and Dooku was Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's relationship. Obi-Wan was more of a letter of the law. We follow every detail. And Qui-Gon was very much like, "Oh, spirit of the law, man. Like, sometimes you got to do things that are against the rules for the greater good." And he learned that
I
from Count Dooku.
understand.
But
Mhm.
Dooku just went way too far on a lot of it. He crossed a lot of lines.
Yeah.
Like, when we talk
mean,
about...
what I was
No,
saying is
you're good.
we saw Obi-Wan mourn Qui-Gon, and I did not expect to see Dooku mourn Qui-Gon as he did.
Mhm.
And I really, really enjoyed that part.
Dooku really cared for Qui-Gon, because even when in Attack of the Clones, when he's talking to Obi-Wan, he's like, "Your master would have joined me." However, I don't think he would. I think Qui-Gon sees the error of the Jedi, but Qui-Gon was more in tune with the Force. I don't think he would have ever turned to the Qui-Gon would have never turned to the dark side.
No, I can I can wager on that. No, he would have
No, I
not.
can't too. Based on what we know of him in The Phantom Menace and this, plus reading Master and Apprentice, Qui-Gon was a rule breaker, yes, but it was always for good reasons, and he never went too far, even though the council
Exactly.
kind of said he did.
And just because one party who thinks they are justified and the right party setting the rules, that does not have anything to do with what is the dark side and what is the light
Mhm.
side and everything.
I do say I kind of side with Dooku on a lot of his perspectives in these 2 episodes. Not like going to the dark side and using his abilities, but more of his rebelliousness against the council,
Yeah.
because the council would have never sent him to this planet to help these villagers. The senator's son probably would have been killed. There probably would have been like the villagers even said, "Oh, you betrayed us." He's like, "No, they don't even know I'm here." So he's bringing an army on his own. And so because they broke the law or the rules of the Jedi or whatever it is that he broke, they were ultimately able to save more people. And Mace Windu also doesn't like how Dooku broke rules, but Dooku got results.
I want to throw this one out there that this is kind of where you see Mace Windu becoming the guy that doesn't want change in for the Jedi, even though right, so not Qui-Gon. Well, Qui-Gon's views were right. Count Dooku's views, he even calls the Jedi out on it. That they are just their time's basically done. It's just no one will move forward, and to see him say that, you can then see why he turns to the dark side. And it's very much a case of the parallels of, with Anakin in that respect, that Anakin was doing it because of what he thought would be best. He, albeit a more selfish reason at the same time, but it was because he wanted, to save the people that he loved. Count Dooku wanted to change, to basically make the galaxy better.
Do exactly what the Jedi are supposed to be, protectors of the peace. And that's why I agree with Dooku on a lot of his views, not how he actually executed things, but I know that his intentions were always pure, because he's saving the village without the Jedi's approval. He goes and finds out about the Jedi Master that was killed, and Mace Windu is getting mad about it. And then he talks to Jocasta. I want to smack her every time. Like, when I read the comic of Darth Vader and her being hunted down, and then her and Palpatine fight, and I think Palpatine's the one that kills her because he survives Order 66. My favorite comic. Because in this one, she's talking to Dooku, and she's like, "Oh yeah, your apprentice." He says he encountered a Sith Lord, but that was in the Outer Rim. But I mean, we can't trust him.
His imagination.
Yeah. And then the rest of the council thinks the same thing. I'm like, no wonder Dooku left the Jedi Order and kind of sided with Palpatine a little bit more. Like, he was more influential. It's like Palpatine knew exactly what he was doing because he's a great manipulator. But I don't think if Dooku didn't come in contact with Palpatine, I don't think he would have gone to the dark side. I think he would just been very extreme, or just a dark Jedi, but not a Sith Lord.
I mean, I think it has nothing to do. Like, I think it was just right. He was just ripe for the taking for Palpatine.
Because Qui-Gon also dies too.
So much. He had so much buildup coming to there. He was seeing all of the corruption inside the Jedi Council and the Republic. So when I saw these 3 episodes, I was like, I understand how Count Dooku became the separatist movement's head person. And it even because we watched Mandalorian season 3, there were people still supporting him probably decades later. And I was not surprised. I was like, this is so well justified. This is something that we see every day, like these corrupt leaders and the systems that are not working, and then there are people who employ the wrong ways to come to the right answer. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, for Palpatine, did, exactly like how he did with Anakin, did he tell him the whole truth? No. Did he give him a way to make things better from his perspective? Of course. He was
And
just right for the take.
all I'm hearing is Fluffy arguing against herself. Because I remember we had a very similar discussion about villains and their complexities and how events and stuff brings them to the point.
I am not saying what he did is right.
No, I know, but I'm just, I agree. We never say the actions they did are right or justifiable, but we can understand how they got to that point.
Yeah.
That's
And
I understand that.
that goes back to what I was saying before. Is like these villains are so complex in Star Wars, it's crazy. And you get to see their intentions. Like they're not bad people. They just get stuck in these bad situations. And as far as like the Jedi, like I probably would have turned against the Jedi. Like, I mean, look at today's society. Like our governments are doing, not to bring politics into it, I'll probably edit this out, but because I don't want to bring politics into it, but it's kind of like the similar things. Like we got all this corruptness going around. It's like Dooku's like, I want to do some good stuff and I'm being restricted by it. And so then he goes dark. And I think Qui-Gon's death is probably what really pushed him over. Because it's very interesting because we see Dooku is still part of the Jedi Order during the Phantom Menace. Because I always wondered when he left the Jedi Order.
I
love
that fact that
Mhm.
it was included.
Yeah.
Because at that point is probably when he kills Sapadius and then gets the clone army ready.
For me, the fact that the question got answered, who deleted Camino off of the Jedi archives and what happened with Cypadias, it was great. I think that episode answered a lot of questions for
I
the
thought that was
prequel
already
trilogy.
I thought that was already answered. I thought Count Dooku was always the one
It
that
was never confirmed on screen in sort of canon appearances.
It was inferred, I guess, somehow.
Yeah, it was inferred, but it was never specifically said that it was Dooku. It was always like, oh, with the deletion of Camino, oh, someone must have deleted it from the archives, and it's kind of it's hinted at that it was Dooku, but not officially confirmed. So then to get this, and also the fate of Yaddle.
So what I wanted to talk about the episode 3 choices is the tension between Mace Windu and Count Dooku. And
do you think they were equals at that point, or do you feel like one? Because I know they're on a mission together. They're both considered Jedi or Jedi Knights. Do you think that one had more authority than the other? Or because I know Mace Windu likes
supposed to.
I think
that's also the reason why they have so much tension.
It's a fight for power at that point, like who's leading the mission.
Yeah, I think it, especially at the end of the episode, this point, it's heavily hinted that they were very much at the same point. It's just the choices that they made, hence the title.
Yeah,
because I know when Dooku wanted to go check out investigate, Windu didn't really have the authority to say, no, we're not doing it, we're going right back. But he counseled, there are procedures and there are ways to do things. I don't want to prove your way, but you're going to do it anyway, so I'm going to follow along and be part of it. And Mace Windu even basically told him, it's like, yeah, you got a senator killed because you went and did this. But Dooku's like, yeah, but we found out their motives and we found out why this master died. And Windu tries to justify saying, oh yeah, but Master Jax would have wanted us to do it the right way.
But
I
who
think
was the right one here?
I want to say Dooku. Like, I think
Yeah,
sometimes we get so caught up in the wrong idea of how things should be that you go through procedure, they probably would have never figured it out.
I think there is no clear right or wrong here, because it was just a matter of, like, Dooku could have just taken his observations to the council and then
Mhm.
could have waited for permission to do an investigation or something like that. And I think the episode name choices do not just refer to the choice Dooku and Windu made, but also the choice of Windu over Dooku in the Jedi Council.
I think I'm going to retract my statement. I agree. Both were not wrong. Again, Dooku is just a little bit more extreme, and I want to say maybe OCD. And he's so intent on doing the right thing that he does the wrong thing. If that makes
I
sense.
think he's just not good with authority. I think he's just
'Cause-
very bullish, and it just required a transmission. It did not require much to let the Jedi Council know about what he has learned and what his suspicions were. And if he said to Windu, like, let's do it like this, let's talk to the council first because I have doubts, such and such. I think there were a lot of different ways he could have gone before he just went completely off script and then force choked someone and then caused a senator's death.
Because this completely reminds me. I'm sorry, Sam. I'm just seeing a huge parallel to Attack of the Clones here, and it might be different because they're in the Clone Wars. Actually, no, this is before this is before the Clone Wars. So same thing. Like, Obi-Wan was on an investigation, and the next step was to follow Jango to Geonosis, and without the council's permission. But he still sent a transmission saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. If you have any issues, just tell me." Then you got Anakin, who's supposed to be guarding Padme, and Anakin. One of the very few times that Anakin is like, "No, we got to stay here because I was told to stay put to protect you," and she's like, "Well, I'm going to go help him. So if you want to protect me, you got to come along." And he's like, "Oh, can't argue with that logic." and it was against the council's order. Like, even Obi-Wan got mad because he's like, "Oh, I'm here to save you." He's like, "Yeah, good job." And so it's just funny. It's like that whole Padawan master line from Count Dooku all the way down to Anakin. It's just funny to see. They're all rule breakers.
They all have a problem with authority, and they all have extremely faulty logic. Except for Obi-Wan.
Or Padme. You can't argue with Padme. She's not bound by the Jedi Order. Anakin technically was doing what he's supposed to.
Yeah. But
so you can't argue with Padme.
Yeah.
That's why Padme is such a great character. That's why I hate when people say that there's no strong female leads. We got Padme. We got not quite. He's got long hair, but Leia.
Yeah, no.
It's like when I think of like those characters, and then you sent me the thing about Sigourney Weaver. I'm so excited for her to join the cast if those rumors are true. But anyways, yeah. So it's just really cool to kind of see like the dynamic between Dooku and Windu, because Windu is like, let's just shoot a quick transmission. They'll probably say yes, or they'll send their own team out. And Dooku's like, nope, I'm dealing with this. I'm very OCD. I need to know answers, and this is what we're gonna do. And Windu did not like that at all. I'm not a huge fan of Windu, so it's nothing against Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson, great actor. I love all his roles, but he plays Windu so well. And even in Clone Wars, the way they write his character to be such a jerk, to be so I wouldn't say jerk, but so on point to where he is so untrusting and whatnot. Like
I
they
love
write
Mace
his character.
Windu.
A lot of people do, but I think I'm probably more like Anakin and Qui-Gon. It's like I'm more of like I'm not a big fan of authority. So Qui-Gon, so Mace Windu is just way too much for me. I could see if I was in the Jedi Order, I'd probably have a lot of issues with Mace Windu.
When you say it like that, I probably would have too. It's just like, first of all, purple lightsaber. Like, that is
Super cool.
one thing
Super
on
cool.
his column.
See, that's the
We all,
privilege of Samuel L. Jackson, though. Hey, George, what color lightsaber? Well, we got red, green, and blue. How about purple? Yeah, sure, why not? Like you can't say no to him. He's such
as
a
long as you play the character,
yeah,
you
like
get
it's
whatever you want.
Samuel, brilliant actor. So I just gotta say,
Mhm.
he made me hate the character so well because he played the character to be an arrogant Jedi of the current order because
Yeah.
that's how the Jedi are. Like we said in the first episode with Dooku, they're like, "Oh no, you're serving the Senate and all the rich people," and Dooku's like, "No, I'm serving the Republic." All the other Jedi, yeah, they're probably taking money in their pockets because even Mace Windu is like, no, that's why we have our own council. We don't serve the senators. That's why we have our own council. It's like, yet a senator told you to put a young Jedi onto the council to be a spy, which the Jedi didn't know. But if the Jedi Council was so strict on their being separate, they would have said no way to Anakin.
Yeah.
And that would have probably still pushed Anakin to the dark side because it's like, okay, well, they're rejecting me now. But it would have been more them rejecting a senator getting involved in Jedi politics.
I think there is no question about the corruption of the system in this case. Like, it is, no matter how you look at it, the system is corrupt. Who is selected, who is not selected, how the orders and the authority system works, everything. It's just, I mean, it's not a democracy, let's say it like that. And it's very corrupt.
And while Dooku was corrupt in his own way, it was just funny to see their relationship. Like one was actually had intentions to make the galaxy better. Not saying Mace Windu didn't have the same intentions, but both of them had different ways to do it. And Mace Windu was saying, no, the Jedi Order has a way to do it, and we need to go by that way because one, a senator wouldn't have been killed.
That we know of. I just want to throw this out there that even if Dooku played by the book, went by the rules, we still don't know if there would be any other outcome.
Yeah.
So, and that's
that is true.
I'm siding with Dooku on this because, yes, he could have waited to send a message and then wait for it to be approved. But we've seen how the Jedi Council are. They're not exactly the best on a good day.
Executing.
So, yeah. So, it's all about deliberation. And, yeah, we need to sit in our nice fancy chairs and talk about this for 5 hours. It's like, so Dooku...
Or days or months.
Yeah. So Dooku...
Because that's how politics works.
Precisely. Yeah, and that's... I mean, let's take Count Dooku as a character as a whole. He is a count. So he knows how
he's nobility at that point.
Yeah, he knows how that side works. So he wants answers. He knows that there's really a finite amount of time to get those answers. If it was me, I'm not hanging around to find this out. I'm going to try and get the answers that I need to close the investigation as to why one of my own is now dead. And unfortunately, the Senator,
because he cares.
That's the point. Like that's what I'm saying is he's
to Mace it was just another casualty.
Yeah, it's just another Jedi, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll look into it eventually. And Dooku's like, no, we need to do this now. Like, he can see the real effects of it.
Because if we wait, they're gonna cover it up to where we're not gonna see it. And the quote that comes to mind for me is Plo Koon, where it's like, clones are replaceable. Not to me, they are.
Yeah.
And that's Dooku's mentality. It's like, yeah, Jedi. I mean, if you look at this point, because I don't think people understand how rare the Jedi are. At this point in time, at the height of the Jedi Order, there's only 10,000 Jedi.
Yeah.
In a galaxy of probably trillions. So to have one Jedi die is a big deal.
And I think the Jedi have definitely forgotten what they're actually about, which is why Dooku doesn't want to wait for them to decide. He just wants to find out. You've said about it being more like OCD and stuff, but I would say it's just the right thing to do.
Determination.
Yeah. And we've said it about like Anakin and his approach to things. It was more about acting in the moment to get the right results. And yes, there was the senator that died, but like I said, we don't know.
He was bad anyway.
Yeah, like he could have been taken out and shot no matter what. Like, we don't know that, and neither does the Jedi, and that's why like Mace Windu just sucks. I hate to say it because the purple lightsaber is cool, but
and we do love Samuel. We do. We just hate Mace Windu.
Yeah,
because he plays the character so well.
That's the thing, is he's played so well to the point where like the snide looks to other ones, and again, big point, not trusting Anakin. Like, the guy that you've got on the council that was requested by Chancellor Palpatine, or Senator, or whatever he was at that time.
Or the way he talked to Ahsoka, it's like, oh yeah, civilian, you're not a Jedi, so get out of here, civilian.
Yeah,
that part I hated. But about Anakin being put into the council, he is being very conservative there. He is like, it is not how things are done.
I agree on that
that's
point.
Not how we're going to do it.
Yeah,
and that's where I see the corruption of the Jedi with being involved too much in the Senate, that they're willing to listen to a senator about placing Anakin as a master, even though that's not how the Jedi do things. So I agree with Mace Windu on that.
I mean, I agree with
Windu.
That.
Sorry.
But Palpatine knew exactly what he was doing, because he told Anakin, he's like, oh, the Jedi are plotting against me. I'm going to try and put you on the council so you can tell me. So he's manipulating Anakin at that point and saying, okay,
but even
I can get you on the council. They're not going to make you a master. But if they reject me, means they don't want you on the council. And so it's a win-win situation for Palpatine. It's like, either way, the Jedi don't trust you.
But then you've got the point then where it's Anakin tells Windu that he thinks that Palpatine is the Sith Lord they've been looking for. And what does Palpatine do? Not Palpatine, what does Mace do? Sticks Anakin in the... Yeah. Like, you've got the best guy that could probably help win against Palpatine right there, and you've sidelined him. No wonder Anakin turns, and it's no wonder that Dooku eventually turns. Like, as we're seeing in this progression of these 3 episodes, it's again down to how other Jedi that are on the council are acting and showing, coming across.
Yeah. So Jedi bad because Qui-Gon's like, hey, I fought a Sith Lord. Oh yeah. It's kind of like when Bo-Katan was talking to the armor about, oh yeah, I saw the Mythosaur. Yeah, sure you did. And
I mean, at least it was just her delivery. We know now that he believed.
Yeah.
But in the case,
I mean, the Jedi now believe Qui-Gon too, because he died.
Exactly. And that is way too late to start believing someone.
And I think that's our whole point, is why we side with Dooku, is like, the Jedi would have taken too long. Who knows how many other people would have died in the in between. So yes, the
Exactly.
senator died, but now we know who the culprits are. We know their motives, and we're able to put a stop to it before any other casualties became part of it. And then I loved that we got to see Count Dooku at the point of Qui-Gon's death and refused to go to the funeral, which broke my heart. I was like, come on, man. But you can see the conflict that he's going with. Like, I think Qui-Gon was the thing that really pushed him over the edge, because now he knows that there's an opening for a Sith apprentice, and Palpatine probably paid as much attention to him as he did Anakin, saying, okay, you left the Jedi Order, let me reach out to you, not as a Sith Lord, but let's be friends as Senator Palpatine, and kind of fish to see where you're at. Bro, you done to be a Sith Lord? Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, well, guess what? I'm a Sith Lord. I'll train you. And we get to
There
see
is
Dooku's turn.
there is always a death, either the act of killing or someone's death that pushes.
And I think
mean,
Yaddle was his first victim.
like it is. So when we look at this, Anakin's fall started with Shmi's death and completed with Dooku's killing. And in this
Yeah.
case, we see Qui-Gon's death versus Yaddle's killing. It's
Ooh, that's actually a really good parallel. I like that. And I also find it funny. Dooku is really good at fighting Yoda's species. He goes against Yaddle and Yoda on 2 different occasions, so Yoda's a better fighter, obviously, but still.
He uses his height to his advantage.
Yeah.
With Yoda,
Yaddle,
he didn't. Yoda, they could not best each other in a duel. That Dooku had to play dirty to threaten the life of Anakin and Kenobi, or let me kill them and then you kill me and we're done.
Yeah.
different
Like Dooku played dirty with Yoda.
You know, Yaddle's fighting ability was, completely different to Yoda's.
A lot of jumping and spinning, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, which is the similarity, but in terms of actual just sheer strength,
No, yeah.
Why Yoda survived Order 66 and everything as
Yeah.
well.
Because he felt it. Because, like, what was it that Anakin told Ahsoka before? She's like, no, you need to pay attention. She's like, you need to feel it before it happens. And I think that's why Yoda was so strong in the Force, because when Qui-Gon found Yoda in the Phantom Menace, he's like, yeah, I haven't seen anybody with a high midichlorian count other than Yoda, and he surpasses Yoda. And so I imagine every other Jedi is just average. And with somebody like Dooku, who was trained by Yoda, because this is why I say, like, with Ahsoka, it's like Yoda trained Dooku. Dooku wouldn't have been as good if Yoda didn't train him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he knew how to fight against Yoda, and why he knew he wouldn't win against Yoda. But it's really interesting because we don't get to see much about Yaddle. A lot of people have been wondering, where did Yaddle go between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones? And I love that we got our answer here. And I love that it involved Dooku.
Bryce Dallas Howard voicing Yaddle.
That's right. I meant to say that.
One thing that does confuse me, and I don't think, I've not looked into or done any research, but why is it that she can speak normally and then speaks like this Yoda does?
That's been everybody's question for the longest time.
I mean, did Yoda have a stroke? Do we need to make sure Yoda's okay here? But no, I mean, seeing Yaddle and hearing that she stepped down from the council was like a big moment, because she was beginning to believe Dooku. Like she was beginning to see what the Jedi were becoming, and she didn't want to be part of that. But she made the mistake of following Dooku.
Yeah.
And
she did exactly what Qui-Gon would have done if Dooku's like, hey, join me. Qui-Gon would have done exactly what Yaddle did.
Yeah.
this episode also showed me, even though we had Qui-Gon in the first movie, yes, and then just fragments of him, he actually affected a lot of the story and a lot of the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Dooku is a key part in everything that happened in the prequels up until the Empire. Even though he died by Anakin, he was. We like to say that Anakin was a pivotal part for Order 66 and everything, but I'd like to think that Dooku was actually in a better position to affect things on a more drastic scale. Because he did the Camino, killed Sepa Diaz.
All of the clone part of things, it's Dooku, and the fact that Dooku's entire backstory ties into Qui-Gon's and his demise, I think it was a great way to pay homage to a character we actually got to see just fragments of in
And a good respect to Sir Christopher Lee, because they could have easily done with Count Dooku that they did with a lot of the other characters that Disney takes control of, to where like Luke, Han, Leia, like could have completely destroyed his character, but they actually did a really good job like describing this character and his fall to the dark side and his change. I loved this story about Dooku.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that for an animated show, that was basically 3 episodes long for this story arc, the amount of emotions that you feel within it, from the start of Dooku's fall, where you've got young Qui-Gon, to then seeing and hearing that, they didn't trust, that the Jedi Council didn't trust Qui-Gon, and it was like, there's no Sith Lord, to his death, and then the aftermath of that was just like, I would say that that's one thing that was needed for for making backstory. And the good thing is, and again, with Ahsoka's story and now with Tales of the Empire, yes, there's time jumps, but they don't miss anything out. They keep all the important information so concise that it's not being over polluted. So with like Yaddle's demise, that was so quick, but it wasn't rushed. It wasn't forced. It was just the right amount of time for what we needed to see, for Dooku's character to become what we then see in Attack of the Clones.
Definitely. It was something that we missed. It was something that we needed, and it was what paced so well that I never thought for a second, this is such an unnecessary bit of information, or thought like we are still missing this and that. I think it was made so well in that sense.
Yeah, because I never knew I needed more story on Dooku, but I'm not mad that I got more.
Yeah, no, definitely. I thought the same, because I loved Christopher Lee. I loved the character of Dooku, but when I watched the prequels, I was like, okay, so there is this and that. Cool. But to get so many of my questions answered in such a way that it just enriched my experience of the prequels, it was really well done.
And unpopular opinion, that's what I always say about the Clone Wars, though. Like, the prequels without the Clone Wars aren't as strong.
You're so right about that. It's just, I think a lot of people do not appreciate the Clone Wars because of its animation style. But if they took the time to actually get into the story itself, it's incredible.
Yeah, because I love the prequels, don't get me wrong, but like the Clone Wars really gave us more detail about Anakin's turn and a lot of his character development. And I actually can't wait till we get into Clone Wars discussion.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the clone, you've got the prequel trilogy. They work fine on their own. Having the inclusion of the Clone Wars just amplifies everything. And,
Mhm.
like you've both just said, it makes the character choices more clear. Like, I know with Anakin, he was going down that slope to the dark side because of loss of his mother and of Padme. But when we see it with Ahsoka, and his ideology of the Jedi Council slipping, then that adds
And his
to it.
relationship with Obi-Wan.
Yeah, so you've got the Obi-Wan relationship. You've got the sheer PTSD at this point from all the missions that he's been on. You can see why he becomes who he is in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Because the jump between Anakin in Attack of the Clones to Anakin in Revenge is quite a lot. So when Anakin says at the fight with Dooku, my powers have doubled, like, you actually get to see now how his powers have doubled. And like, I think without Tales of the Jedi and Dooku's backstory, like, yeah, it's fine not knowing who this character is that dies in the first 5 minutes of Revenge of the Sith, but
And has an
knowing
arc 20 minutes of the last film. Because when you think about it, he didn't really have much of a role.
Yeah.
But it was a very prominent one, though.
Yeah. So to have him in Tales and having his backstory fleshed out and showing how he got to that point, I'm all for that, and I'm hoping that they do more Tales of insert next title here.
Tales of the Rebellion. That's all I gotta say. Tales of the Rebellion.
See, I was thinking Tales of the New Republic. Like, it's early days.
Please, let's have both of them.
I'd take both of them. Yeah. Tales of anything. Quick short stories to kind of amplify current projects. So
Tales of the Sith.
Tales of the First Order. Let's go there too.
Yeah, Tales of the Sith, Tales of the First Order. Dave Filoni, please listen to us. We want writing credits for this.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the Tales of the Empire, and it was not as impressive, or none of us were like, oh my god, I love this so much. But still, it enriched the entire universe, and Tales of the Jedi is definitely, especially with the Dooku arc, no matter how much I love Ahsoka, it was just enriching to the whole universe of Star Wars. So definitely Tales of the Sith, Tales of the New Republic, Tales of the First Order. Keep them coming.
Yeah, because Dooku is such a fascinating character. I will always take more stories about Dooku. Ahsoka, we've had 8 seasons of the Clone Wars, and then her own show plus Rebels. We got a lot of story on her. So for characters that are like Dooku, yeah, I mean, we got him Clone Wars also, but now we're getting a backstory on him, and I think it made it more fun because I've always wanted to see his interactions with Qui-Gon as a Padawan. And I think that actually made it a lot more fun to watch because we get to see his relationship there. And we learn why Qui-Gon is a little rebellious, but not to the point of crossing lines. So overall, really good. Tales of the Jedi, well done. And I'm looking forward to more projects that they do. Before you guys leave, or before we end it, just remember checking the link below. We have our link tree. We have all of our social media. So be able to check out our Instagram and our Discord, where we have a great Star Wars community. And then if you want any merchandise, we are affiliated with entertainmentearth.com. So we got a lot of Black Series, a lot of cool lightsabers, a lot of cool licensed products. So take a look at those below. And we have some cool shirt designs. So if you like those, check our Teespring. So with that, we'll see you guys next week.
May the Force
be with you.
Always.